November 3rd, 1944. Ibaraki Prefecture, Japan. A low winter sun cuts through the mist over the launch site at Otsu. Rows of young women in white headscarves and engineers in oil-stained uniforms stand beside enormous pale spheres, paper balloons, each 40 feet across, swaying gently in the cold morning breeze. Steam rises from the hydrogen pumps. A soldier shouts, "Pressure stable. Prepare for release." At first glance, it looks absurd, an army of paper and string meant to strike the United States, 6,000 miles away. Even some of the Imperial engineers snicker behind their hands. "A child's toy," one mutters. But their commander, Major General Tsuyoshi Kasaba, doesn't smile. He watches the tethered balloon tug against its ropes, listening to the hiss of escaping gas. "Let the jet stream carry it," he says quietly. "The gods will guide the rest." This is Operation Fugo, Japan's desperate bid to turn the wind itself into a weapon. By late 1944, the empire's factories lay in ruins, fuel was scarce, and American bombers roamed freely overhead. The once mighty Japanese Army Air Service could no longer strike the U.S. mainland by conventional means. But the scientists of the 9th Army Technical Research Laboratory had found something curious. At 30,000 feet, a fast river of air, what the world would later call the jet stream, flowed eastward across the Pacific. If they could build a balloon that climbed high enough to catch that invisible current, it might ride the wind all the way to North America. No plane, no pilot, just paper, hydrogen, and ingenuity. Each balloon, made from hundreds of sheets of handmade washi paper, was glued together with a sticky paste of Kanyako root. Beneath it hung a 70-foot suspension line holding bombs, usually two 11-pound incendiaries and a 33-pound fragmentation charge, plus a clever altitude control system. A barometer-triggered valve released hydrogen if the balloon flew too high. Sandbags were dropped automatically if it sank too low. It was delicate, primitive, and ingenious. That morning, Kusaba's team ignites the fuse on balloon number 37. Hydrogen hisses, ropes slacken, and the balloon lurches upward into the cold November sky. A few soldiers crane their necks, squinting as the white sphere rises past the clouds, then vanishes into the gray horizon over the Pacific. No one will ever see it again. Half a world away, in the forests of Oregon, rangers and loggers will soon look up and wonder why pieces of paper and silk are falling from the sky. December 6, 1944. Somewhere over the North Pacific, 32,000 feet up, a vast ocean of cloud rolls beneath the thin skin of Fugo balloon number 1284. The jet stream howls at nearly 200 miles per hour, pushing the fragile craft eastward at impossible speed. Its paper shell creaks and ripples, frost sparkles along the seams like veins of glass. Below dangle the dull, heavy shapes of its bombs, rocking gently with each gust. Thousands more like it drift silently through the high atmosphere. From launch sites at Ichinomiya, Nikoso, and Otsu, over 9,000 balloons have been released, each one entrusted to the winds, unpiloted, unseen. A few burst from the pressure. Others sink into the sea. But some survive, gliding across the ocean's vast emptiness toward a land they've never seen. 2 days later, a fisherman near San Pedro, California, swears he saw a giant jellyfish in the sky. In Wyoming, ranchers find paper scraps printed with Japanese characters. In Montana, a ranch hand reports a dull thud in the snow followed by a hiss, and then nothing. The United States Army takes notice. By January 1945, reports of strange balloon fragments are reaching 4th Air Force Headquarters in San Francisco. Major William Bill Tilton, an intelligence officer, spreads the recovered debris across a table. Paper, silk, ropes, small brass fittings, and a Japanese battery pack still ticking faintly. He leans in. Hydrogen balloon. Likely unmanned. But what's it carrying? At first, the Army assumes these are weather reconnaissance devices or a psychological weapon, perhaps even biological bombs. Scientists at the Geological Survey and Naval Research Laboratory study the sandbags dropped from the devices. One analyst, Dr. Bernard Leach, frowns as he picks through the grit under a microscope. Volcanic sand, not American. It's from Honshu. That single clue confirms what no one wanted to believe. These things are coming directly from Japan. Panic rises quietly inside the War Department. If the Japanese are truly launching these by the thousands, and if even one carried anthrax or plague, cities like Seattle or Spokane could be at risk. But there's another danger, too. Information. Military censors issue immediate orders. No newspaper, no radio broadcast is to mention the balloons. The reasoning is simple. If Japan never learns where the balloons land, they'll have no way to correct their aim. Across the country, Forest Service pilots and fire lookouts are quietly instructed to report any unusual aerial debris. Air patrols from McCord Field and Hammer Field begin scanning the skies. But the Pacific Northwest is vast, and the balloons, when they descend, are nearly invisible until it's too late. Late in March 1945, one Fugo balloon drifts down near Thermopolis, Wyoming. Another lands near Hanford, Washington, dangerously close to a secret plutonium production site for the Manhattan Project. By sheer luck, it causes no damage. The press remains silent. The public never knows. Then comes May 5, 1945, a quiet Saturday morning in Southern Oregon. May 5, 1945, Bly, Oregon. The high desert air is still and cold. A small church group from the Bly Christian and Missionary Alliance drives out toward Gerhardt Mountain for a weekend picnic. The war in Europe, everyone knows, is nearly over. Just yesterday, Berlin fell. The morning radio spoke of German surrender papers. Spirits are light. In the car's front seat, Reverend Archie Mitchell steers along a dusty logging road. Beside him, his wife Elsie laughs softly as the children chatter in the back, 5 young Sunday school students, ages 11 to 13. The group's plan is simple: roast lunch, explore the pine forest, and enjoy one of the first warm days of spring. They stop near a creek bank. The kids tumble out of the car, running toward the trees. Elsie follows, calling, "Don't go too far." Then one of the children shouts, "Look what we found." Archie turns his head just as the group gathers around a strange white object half buried in the soil. A balloon-like thing, torn and glinting faintly in the sun, with ropes and metal fittings tangled around it. Elsie bends down. A faint ticking sound fills the silence. Archie opens his mouth to call out, but in that instant, the forest erupts. A deafening explosion rips through the clearing. Pine needles rain down like snow. Smoke curls above the trees. The Reverend is thrown backward, his ears ringing. When he scrambles to his feet, the clearing is gone. A crater smolders where his wife and the children had stood moments earlier. The army arrives within hours. Investigators identify the twisted metal fragments immediately. A Japanese Fugo balloon bomb, one of the thousands that had crossed the Pacific. Somehow, it had drifted across 6,000 miles and landed here, in the forest near Bly, silent for months before a spark or static charge triggered its detonation. Elsie Mitchell and the 5 children, Jay Gifford, Edward Engen, Dick Patsk, Joan Patsk, and Sherman Shoemaker, become the only civilians killed by enemy action on the continental United States during World War II. In Washington, the War Department faces a terrible choice. The censor's silence, meant to protect the public, had also ensured that no one knew to avoid these deadly relics. Now, after the Oregon tragedy, the blackout is lifted. Newspapers finally print the warning: Japanese balloons may carry explosives, do not touch. By then, it's nearly over. Japan's Fugo program is collapsing under its own futility. Out of more than 9,000 balloons launched, fewer than 300 are ever found in North America. Most fell harmlessly into the ocean or onto empty plains. The damage is negligible, but the psychological ripple is immense. On the other side of the Pacific, in a bunker outside Tokyo, Major General Kasaba studies the final reports. The engineers around him are exhausted. 9,000 launched, an aide whispers, and only one confirmed kill. Kasaba doesn't answer. The war is already lost. The Americans are firebombing Tokyo nightly. Soon, the atomic age will dawn over Hiroshima. Yet somewhere in his mind, he wonders if the wind still carries the last of his balloons, drifting endlessly between worlds, a ghost weapon no one will remember. Months later, as Allied occupation forces sweep Japan, investigators find the remains of the launch bases: torn paper, empty hydrogen cylinders, and faded weather charts marked with circles over the Pacific. The Fugo campaign fades into obscurity, an audacious, desperate experiment that turned the sky itself into a battlefield. And in the quiet woods near Bly, Oregon, a small stone monument still stands beneath the pines. Its inscription reads, "On this spot, 6 people died on May 5, 1945. They were the first and only victims of enemy action on the American continent during World War II."